Hello and welcome. You are sitting in the quiet half-light of a Waterdeep evening, the city breathing softly all around you, as if the stone itself has a slow and patient heartbeat. The windows are dark shapes above you and around you, tiny islands of candlelight and hearth glow peeking through shutters, while far away along the cliffs and the harbor, the wind carries the low murmur of waves and the faint clatter of rigging against a forest of masts. You can almost feel the city resting, though Waterdeep never truly sleeps. It only changes its rhythm, shifting from the jostling brightness of the day market to the softer movements of lantern light, watch patrols, quiet dealings, and whispered hopes. You sit with that breath, with that rhythm. And as you listen, you begin to feel something else beneath the sounds of hooves and carts and footsteps. You begin to feel the weight of gold that is not where it was meant to be. You begin to drift into the story of a city that is missing a fortune so large that everyone feels its absence, even if they cannot name it. You let your eyes close just for a moment, and in that darkness, the sounds of Waterdeep become clearer. You hear the harbor first, down in the dock ward, where the salt air slides between warehouses and crooked streets, where fishmongers shout during the day and smugglers whisper at night. You imagine yourself standing on the slick stones of the piers, lanterns reflecting in the black water, gulls crying as they wheel overhead. Behind you, rows of warehouses sit like silent giants, hiding trade goods and secrets in equal measure. Farther inland, the dock ward rises into the trade ward, where the heartbeat of commerce never entirely fades, even when most stalls are closed. There, rows of shops and guild houses cluster along broad streets, their signs creaking gently. A few late wagons rumble by, wheels thudding over cobbles that have seen so many caravans that the stone seems to remember the weight of every wagon. Above all of this, like a crown of stone, Castle Ward rests on higher ground, with its towers and government halls, and the grand courts where the laws of Waterdeep are spoken aloud. The city feels layered, one ward folding into the next. You drift through the North Ward, where neat, stately houses line the streets, their gardens manicured and their walls high, where the well-to-do of Waterdeep sleep behind locked gates and glowing sigils. From there, you slip toward Sea Ward, the most fashionable district, where noble estates open onto broad avenues, kept carefully clean and watched, where you can almost hear music drifting from private halls and taste fine wine on the cool air. You turn then, passing by the broad walls that encircle the city of the dead, Waterdeep's vast and carefully maintained cemetery, where by day families visit mausoleums, and by night spirits and quiet guardians keep watch. You can feel how even the graveyards here are part of the city's order, given their own ward, their own paths, their own iron fences that gleam in the moonlight. Beyond the better-known wards, your thoughts wander to the rough edges of the field ward, where the city spills past its walls into poorer districts of tents and makeshift homes, places that many citizens pretend not to see, though the people who live there feel every tax and every shortage more keenly than anyone in a manor house. You move slowly through all of this, feeling how different each district is, yet how they are bound together, like organs in a single living body that people call the City of Splendors. Beneath the quiet, though, you can feel the coin. In Waterdeep, gold pieces are called dragons, and their familiar weight sits in every merchant's purse, in every landlord's lockbox, and in the deepest vaults of guilds and noble houses. You picture a single dragon coin between your fingers, worn smooth from passing through so many hands, its edges softened by years of commerce and worry. Then you imagine a chest full of them, then a room full of chests, then a vault in which hundreds of thousands of such coins are stacked and sorted and guarded by old magic. Somewhere in the city, such a hoard sleeps, but it is not in the city's treasury where it was meant to rest. You can almost feel the strange hollowness that absence creates. It is like listening to a song and realizing one of the deepest notes has gone silent. The people of Waterdeep feel it as raised fees, as projects that never quite get funded, as a faint brittleness under their daily routines, and they blame many things without ever seeing the shape of that missing fortune. They blame the damage of recent wars on the Sword Coast, or the greed of nameless nobles, or the endless costs of running a city that sprawls along the cliffs like a sleeping titan. Somewhere beneath all of that, there is a secret that belongs to a single man, a former open lord who decided that the heart of Waterdeep would be his personal purse. That name arrives in your thoughts as softly as a whisper. Dagult Neverember. He was not born to Waterdeep, but in time he rose to become its open lord, ruling the city late in the 14th century and early in the 15th century by Dale reckoning, guiding it after stretches of neglect. He brought coin and confidence to the city, investing in its walls and streets and trade routes, making a show of being the strong hand that could steady Waterdeep in uncertain times. For a while, many citizens believed in that story. They saw repaired roads and bustling markets. They heard of his work in Neverwinter far to the north as well, where he styled himself as a savior and Lord Protector. And they imagined that such ambition must also be good for their own city. Yet behind the scenes, Neverember's relationship with coin was more than public investment and clever policy. In Waterdeep, he instituted heavy new levies, remembered in many accounts as the dragon tax, a series of measures that drew a steady stream of dragons from ordinary folk into the city's coffers. On the surface, this was framed as a way to shore up finances and keep Waterdeep strong. Beneath the surface, Neverember began to quietly divert a great portion of that steady flow of coin away from the official treasury. You pause here in the dark and imagine the slow, meticulous act of theft that does not look like theft at all. There is no single vault door forced open in the dead of night. No masked figure with a sack over one shoulder. Instead, this is a crime that wears a signet ring and a lord's cloak. Every month, tax collectors do their work. Every month, the city's coin counters tally the income, and somewhere behind heavy doors known only to a few, ledgers and locks are adjusted. A pouch is moved here, a chest is moved there, and a trail of numbers on parchment is nudged until some of the coin seems to vanish from the books, while still sitting solid and real in hidden vaults under Neverember's control. This is not a sudden haul. This is a gently deepening river of gold, drawn off from the main current, pooling in secret. Over the years of his rule, the total grows. 10,000 dragons, then 50,000, then 100,000. By the time the scheme reaches its height, Neverember has embezzled a staggering fortune, on the order of 500,000 dragons, enough gold to tilt the balance of power in any city on the coast. The scale of it suggests that even the gods of greed might turn their heads. You feel the sheer weight of that number. 500,000 gold coins, each one a little disc of promise and hunger. The city thinks that money is working for it. In truth, it is being hidden away in a place almost no one remembers even exists. Your attention turns now to stone older than the current streets. Beneath Waterdeep lies the memory of ancient dwarven kingdoms, including the Mellerkin, who carved halls and vaults beneath the mountain long before human lords raised the first city walls above. Among the many secrets of that buried realm is a particular vault, connected in later days to the Brandath family, whose mausoleum in the city of the dead hides a descent into old dwarven stone. Neverember married into that house when he wed a noblewoman named Alethea Brandath, and through that union, he came to learn of the hidden vault under the Brandath mausoleum. When Alethea died, that knowledge became more than a piece of family history to him. It became the solution to a very practical problem. How do you hide 500,000 dragons where no one in Waterdeep can find them, and where even the city's own records can be made to forget they exist? Neverember began to store his embezzled dragons in that ancient Mellerkin vault, turning a dwarven relic into his personal hoard chamber. You can picture it now, far under the soft grass and carefully tended tombs of the city of the dead. A door of old stone, heavy and intricate. Corridors cut with dwarven precision, the air cool and dry. Rooms lined with chests, each one filled with gold that once belonged to the city above. The dead rest overhead in their mausoleums, unaware that the coins meant to repair streets and houses now sleep far below their bones. But even a secret vault is not safe if too many people know about it. And even the cleverest embezzler must eventually answer questions about numbers that no longer add up. Neverember's answer is a thing out of stranger lore. He comes into possession of a peculiar artifact known as the Stone of Golorr, a sentient stone that can contain and erase knowledge itself, wiping specific memories from the minds of individuals, and even from written records under the right rituals. With the stone's aid, he is able to hide not only the hoard, but the knowledge of how to reach it. The path to the vault, the command words, the clues that might have been recorded in ledgers or whispered among trusted agents. All of these can be carefully extracted and stored within the stone, as if it were a locked journal only he can open. To the world, the dragon tax still happened. The coins were still gathered. The projects were still announced. Yet the precise trail to the missing dragons becomes a kind of blank space in the city's memory. Even those who once knew parts of the path find their recollections fogged, their notes inexplicably incomplete. The hoard sinks a little further from reach, like treasure dropped into deep water. The stone of Golorr becomes both the key to restoring what has been forgotten and the lock that keeps that knowledge sealed away. Time in Waterdeep does not pause for any one man's schemes. You feel the years ticking by like the slow tolling of a distant bell. While Neverember divides his attention between Waterdeep and Neverwinter, old resentments and new suspicions grow. The masked lords of Waterdeep, the secretive council that truly rules the city, become wary of how much power he holds, and of how much of his energy is spent far to the north, rather than on the city of splendors itself. Eventually, their patience runs out. In the late 1480s by Dale reckoning, while Neverember is away in Neverwinter, they vote to strip him of the title of Open Lord, ending his rule. Into the vacuum steps Laeral Silverhand, a powerful mage who returns to Waterdeep and assumes the mantle of Open Lord, seeking to restore a more balanced and less self-serving leadership. Official accounts say plainly that she knows Dagult stole about 500,000 dragons from the city, even if she does not yet know exactly where they lie. From that, it is reasonable to picture her looking at ledgers and realizing that the dragon tax should have left a deep cushion of coin for hard times, and finding only a thin layer instead. This could imply that even before the vault is found, she feels the shape of that missing fortune as a constant pressure in every budget she signs. To the ordinary people of Waterdeep, this change in leadership comes with rumors and street corner arguments. Some feel relief, others uncertainty. Few of them know that their city's treasury has already been quietly bled, and that the former Open Lord has every intention of someday retrieving the hidden dragons and making his escape with the hoard that was supposed to safeguard their future. Now, you stand again in that darkened street in your imagination, feeling the air of Waterdeep as it is in the time of Dragon Heist. The sky above is pricked with stars, where Section 2, factions moving in shadow. Your footsteps carry you deeper into Waterdeep's night, and as you walk, you begin to feel that the city is not a single story at all. It is a knot of quieter tales that twist around one another in the dark. Some of those tales wear uniforms and hold lanterns high. Others slip through alleys with hoods drawn and blades wrapped in cloth. All of them are turning, slowly and silently, around the same unseen weight. That hidden sea of dragon coins you felt before. The fortune that Dagult Neverember buried in dwarven stone. You can almost taste the tension it creates in the air, like the charged feeling before a storm. When the sky holds its breath and small hairs rise along your arms without any clear reason. You pass a street corner where a pair of city watch soldiers stand under a lamp. Their green and gold tabards are neat even at this late hour. Their spears gleam in the soft light, and their boots are polished enough that the cobbles reflect their shapes. The watch is the city's front line against open crime, the presence that most citizens think of first when they imagine law and order. They walk beats through every ward, they answer shouts in the night, they break up brawls in taverns and drag pickpockets before the magistrates. They are not warriors on a distant battlefield. They are peacekeepers in a maze of tenements and guild halls and noble villas. Yet, even they can sense that something has changed. More brawls feel like the beginnings of turf wars. More unexplained bodies are found in alleys with strange marks on their flesh. More reports come in about odd gatherings in warehouses long after curfew. This could suggest that the quiet struggle over Neverember's hoard is already nudging everyday crime into something sharper and more organized. You notice that the watch is not alone. High above, the beat of great wings stirs faint currents of air. You tilt your head back and glimpse a silhouette against the stars. A rider mounted upon a griffin sweeps along the line of the city walls. Each griffin rider carries sword and lance and keen eyes trained to spot fires, riots, or enemy ships. They are the city's guardians of the sky, trained to dive against threats that the ordinary watch cannot quickly reach. They pass over dockside warehouses, noble towers, and temples with equal care. From up there, the pattern of the city looks different. Gang territory and noble estates blend into one spreading quilt of lantern glow. And only those who know what to look for can see the subtle shifts in activity. A stretch of roofs that suddenly hosts more meetings at odd hours. A section of dockside where too many ships are loading cargo at night rather than in daylight. A certain block in the dock ward where shadows come and go near the entrance to old sewers. Even if the riders cannot name it, they are seeing the surface ripples of a deeper struggle. You feel the presence of the open lord as a kind of distant pressure in the stones. Laeral Silverhand sits at the top of this living maze, her authority given form through decrees, through the masked lords, through the Blackstaff, and the city's armed forces. She inherited a city that had been quietly robbed by her predecessor, and the adventure makes clear that she knows Dagult stole about 500,000 dragons that have yet to be recovered. Based on that, it is easy to imagine her looking at reports of rising violence and feeling that somewhere under all of it lies the shadow of Neverember's theft. Her response to the unease she can measure is simple. She tightens the grip of honest law where she can, supports the watch and the Griffin cavalry, and gives quiet backing to trusted factions that work in the shadows for the good of the city. Your path turns off the lit boulevard into a lane where lanterns burn lower, and the watch passes by less often. Here, you can feel other forces at work. At the mouth of an alley that smells of old fish and damp rope, you sense the lingering presence of the Xanathar Guild. Most common folk know the name Xanathar the way children know the stories of monsters under the bed. It is a whispered threat. Behave, or the Xanathar will get you. It is half fairy tale and half rumor. People know that there is a powerful crime boss somewhere under the city. Few of them understand that this crime boss is not a human or an elf, but a beholder lurking in a network of lairs, connected to the sewers and to Skullport deep below. The guild is made up of thieves, assassins, enforcers, and smugglers who swear loyalty to that floating tyrant eye. They gather protection money from shopkeepers, run gambling dens, push illicit substances, and control many of the darkest corners of Dock Ward and the tunnels beneath. Their symbol, an eye with curling stalks, shows up in graffiti under bridges and on hidden doorways. Where you see that mark, you know that the Xanathar is not far away. The current Xanathar is more than a simple crime lord. It hoards information and treasures with the same intensity as it hoards fear. And the rumor of a missing fortune belonging to the city has reached even its lairs. To such a mind, 500,000 dragons are not only wealth, but the promise of endless hired killers, bribes, and fortifications. This could explain why the guild's recent robberies and kidnappings have focused more on who knows what than on simple coin. You can picture one of its many agents now, a half-orc cutpurse and informer, walking with a limp from an old fight, moving through the alleys of Dock Ward with casual ease. A human wizard in patched robes, eyes ringed with shadow from long hours in underground chambers, meeting with street urchins and buying their gossip for a few copper pieces. A kenku in a thieves' den imitating voices as it repeats overheard conversations about a strange stone and a noble son. Accounts of the campaign make it clear that the Xanathar Guild is actively hunting the stone of Golorr and any trail to the hoard. And this kind of scattered network could be one way that hunt feels on the street. On another night, or only a few streets away, you might feel a different kind of shadow. The Gentarim have been part of the Sword Coast story for generations. They began as a mercenary network and have grown into a sprawling web of smugglers, assassins, traders, and spies that stretches from the Moonsea to Am. In Waterdeep, the Gentarim presence has long been a quiet one, working behind the scenes and building contacts in trades that skirt the edges of the law. There are at least 2 notable faces to this group in the city at the time of Dragon Heist. One is the more open, more pragmatic side that most adventurers and merchants see, represented by figures like Davil Starsong and his associates in the Yawning Portal, who present the Gentarim as a guild of problem solvers and hired blades. Beneath that smile, there is a colder presence. A clone of the ancient wizard Manshoon has taken a firm grip on part of the Gentarim in Waterdeep. He operates from a hidden base in the city, using magic, ruthless logic, and long experience to shape a faction of agents who care little for reputation and much for power. To them, the Hoard of Dragons is not only a pile of gold, it is a lever. With that kind of wealth, Manshoon could buy influence in guilds, bribe officials, fund private armies, and tilt the political balance of the city and the coast. The published adventure shows Manchun's people kidnapping Renaer Neverember because they believe the sun must hold some part of the secret to the vault, which suggests that they see the hoard as a way to anchor their faction high above its old station. The rivalry between the Xanathar Guild and the Gentarim is an old wound in Waterdeep's underworld. But now it becomes an active war. The two groups have clashed over territory in Dock Ward and over control of smuggling routes through the harbor and the sewers for some time. Once they both begin reaching for the same invisible prize, every skirmish takes on higher stakes. Assassinations increase. Safe houses are burned. Entire blocks feel the tension as informants vanish and shopkeepers quietly change which group they pay. Ordinary citizens know something is happening. They hear more shouts at night. They see more bodies carried out under sheets. They sense that this is more than the usual ebb and flow of gang power. They do not know that a stone that steals memories and a vault full of dragons sit at the center of this quiet war. They only know that their streets feel less safe, and that the watch seems always a few streets behind whatever is truly going on. Yet, not every group that moves quietly in Waterdeep is chasing wealth for its own sake. You duck into a familiar tavern and feel the warmth of a fire and the hum of conversation. Somewhere in the corner, a bard plays a gentle tune. It masks another layer of sound, low voices sharing rumors and exchanging coded signs. The Harpers are one of the oldest secret networks on the continent, a loose organization of bards, rangers, and mages who value freedom, balance, and the quiet protection of the common folk. In Waterdeep, Harpers tend to work from behind the scenes. Many of them pose as entertainers, minor officials, or simple innkeepers. They listen, they record, they occasionally nudge. The adventure notes their interest in the conflict between the Xanathar Guild and the Gentarim. And it is easy to picture small Harper cells here comparing scraps of information about a strange stone and a missing hoard. You can imagine a back room of a bookshop or a quiet table at the yawning portal, hand-drawn maps spread out, bits of parchment covered in careful notes. One Harper reports hearing that a gnome close to Neverember has been shadowed lately. Another mentions hints that someone is erasing traces of an old Brandeth vault from records. A third has heard that Laeral's agents are quietly probing irregularities in city finances from Neverember's term. Harpers are not driven by greed, though they understand its power. They are driven by the urge to prevent tyrants and dark powers from gaining tools that will let them crush the innocent. From what is given in the adventure, it is reasonable to think that if a hoard of dragons lies somewhere under the city, then who controls it matters more to them than the simple fact that it exists. Not far from those tables, at other meeting spots scattered through the city, the Order of the Gauntlet gathers its own members. These are paladins, priests, and knights who believe in striking down evil before it can strike others. They are less subtle than the Harpers. Their instinct is to meet darkness head-on, yet even they have learned that in a city like Waterdeep, sometimes the enemy hides behind a noble's crest or beneath a shop's cheerful signboard. For them, the rise in violence between the Xanathar Guild and the Zhentarim is a call to action. They patrol streets in armor, but they also quietly investigate fronts for these organizations. They talk to victims and look for patterns. When word of a possible stolen hoard reaches them through faction briefings, it naturally appears as a matter of justice. If Neverember really robbed the city, then his hoard is stolen property. It belongs, ultimately, to the people of Waterdeep, not to beholders or scheming wizards. The Emerald Enclave moves through Waterdeep in an even quieter way. Its members are druids, rangers, and guardians of the natural world. In a city of stone, their focus may seem less obvious, but the Enclave has a strong presence here, watching parks, the city of the dead, the harbor, and the surrounding countryside. They can feel when unnatural forces disturb the balance. An increase in strange creatures in the sewers, whispers of aberrant beings moving nearer to the surface, magical disturbances under the city of the dead. To the Emerald Enclave, the rumor that a beholder rules a vast criminal guild beneath Waterdeep is not abstract. It is a clear sign that something profoundly unnatural is rooted deep under this place. The published faction hooks show them concerned with threats like the Xanathar Guild, and that strongly suggests they would see any attempt by the guild to claim a hoard of dragons as a danger to the wider balance of land and sea. Weaving between all of these, sometimes overlapped with them, sometimes standing apart, is the Lord's Alliance. This is a coalition of rulers and influential figures from many cities and realms across the north, bound together by the shared goal of stability and mutual defense. Laeral Silverhand is part of it, so are leaders from places like Neverwinter, Murabar, and Baldur's Gate. In Waterdeep, the Lord's Alliance has emissaries and agents who keep eyes on threats that could reach beyond a single city's walls. To them, the concept of 500,000 dragons stolen from Waterdeep is more than a local matter. It is a resource that could fund invasions, rebellions, or the rise of a new regional power. Adventure guidance makes it clear that they monitor Manshoon's Zhentarim and the Xanathar Guild for this reason, which implies that any serious move toward the hoard would ring alarm bells far beyond Waterdeep's walls. As you walk, you begin to understand that every alley you pass is part of a larger pattern. A watch patrol here, a Zhentarim lookout there, a harper making conversation in a tavern, an Emerald Enclave druid tending a small grove in the city of the dead and listening for sounds beneath the soil, a Lord's Alliance courier riding hard with sealed messages for allied cities. Each group has its own reasons, its own fears, its own hopes. Yet all of them are unknowingly circling the same invisible center: the missing dragons, the hidden dwarven vault, the lost memories sealed inside the stone of Golorr. It is as if a great whirlpool exists beneath the streets, and all these currents of loyalty and ambition spin slowly around it, not yet pulled into its full force, but drifting nearer a point where no one will be able to ignore it any longer. You pause near a fountain that sings softly in a quiet square. The water's voice calms the clamor of all those overlapping agendas in your mind. You can picture the stone of Golorr now, even if you have not yet seen it, a strange, smooth object, heavy in the hand, carrying a presence that presses at the edges of thought. Somewhere in the city, it lies hidden for the moment, perhaps in a noble's vault, perhaps in the keeping of a frightened courier, perhaps already changing hands between those who sense its value without fully grasping its nature. Around that single stone, the factions you have just walked among are drawing ever closer. The Xanathar Guild with its hungry beholder, the divided Gentarim with their mercenary charm and ruthless core, the Harpers, the Order of the Gauntlet, the Emerald Enclave, and the Lord's Alliance with their different dreams of justice and balance. They do not yet know how much has already been erased from Waterdeep's memory. They do not yet understand that to find the hoard, they will first have to reclaim what Neverember took from their very thoughts. That understanding waits for you in the story of the stone itself, in the strange and patient intelligence that turned knowledge into a kind of treasure of its own. Section 3. The Stone That Stole Memories. You sit again in that quiet square by the fountain, listening to the steady fall of water. And as your breathing slows, you begin to notice another presence in your thoughts, like a smooth stone at the bottom of a deep pool that you somehow know is there even though you cannot see it, somewhere in Waterdeep. That awareness belongs to a real object, a glossy, greenish-gray stone that fits neatly into the palm of a hand, its surface cool and almost inviting, as if it wants to be held and turned and studied. People who have brushed against it, in passing, sometimes remember nothing more than a strange sense of comfort, or a momentary pressure behind the eyes, like the beginning of a headache that never quite arrives. Others who truly attune themselves to it learn a far deeper truth. Inside that unassuming shape lives the mind of an ancient aboleth named Golorr, transformed by powerful magic into an object that can no longer swim through black waters, but can still swim through memory. It cannot close its eyes because it has no eyes of its own anymore, yet it still sees in a way that has nothing to do with light. It sees knowledge, it tastes secrets, it rests in the dark, while thoughts and histories drift over it like currents. And every so often it reaches out gently and takes something away. You imagine your fingers closing around that stone. It is not heavy in a physical sense, not in the way gold is heavy, but there is a depth to it, a sense that if you dropped it into a pool, it would not simply sink to the bottom and rest. It would keep going, passing through the earth, falling into older and older layers of time. When a creature bonds with the stone, that depth opens. Suddenly, there is another voice inside the mind, slow and patient and profoundly alien, a consciousness that remembers things from before human cities rose along these coasts. The adventure describes the Stone of Golorr as an artifact that can cast legend lore and share what the Aboleth knows, which includes the location of Neverember's secret vault, the 3 keys needed to open it, and the fact that a gold dragon named Aurinax guards the treasure within. At the same time, under special rituals, the stone can do something far stranger. It can erase chosen memories from almost everyone on the plane, locking that knowledge inside itself so that only the creature attuned to it retains a clear understanding. You can feel the cruelty of that working when you picture it. Somewhere in the past, a circle of candles, slow arcane words spoken in a steady rhythm. The Stone of Golorr resting in Daggled, Neverember's hands, while he gives it careful instructions. Knowledge is not just text on pages. It is the look one guard gives another when the vault is mentioned. It is an old clerk's habit of glancing at a particular ledger when counting incoming coin. It is a brief, shared joke between 2 laborers about how one door in the city of the dead seems a little heavier than it should be. Bit by bit, those small threads are pulled. When the ritual completes, the world takes a soft breath and continues on. The stone has eaten. The people who might once have carried the memory of the vault's path now have nothing but a faint sense that they have forgotten something, like a dream that slips away on waking. Even written records are touched. Notes that once mentioned a specific mausoleum or a tunnel are subtly altered, or the ink that held the key detail is smeared beyond reading, or an entire page is misplaced and never found. Golorr does not merely lock information away. It rearranges the world so that this loss feels natural, like a memory that never truly settled. In exchange for this work, the stone grows richer within, filled with the taste of that secret, and the one attuned to it holds the sole remaining clear path to the hoard. Yet even that was not enough for Neverember. In his time with the stone, he learned that its senses and its ability to communicate its stored truths are focused through 3 strange, removable eyes, arcane nodes, that rest in small sockets in its surface. When those eyes are in place, Golorr can see more sharply into the world and speak more clearly into the mind of whoever is attuned to it, offering detailed visions and specific instructions. Remove the eyes, and the stone is still aware, still resentful, but half blinded. Its power to share what it knows is muffled, and much of its strength lies dormant. After using the artifact to hide the location and details of his stolen hoard, Neverember makes a final, careful move. He removes the 3 eyes, one after another, leaving the stone in a state of enforced silence. The official adventure says that by the time Dragon Heist begins, the eyes have been scattered throughout Waterdeep and must be collected again to fully unlock the stone's power. Many tables place each eye in the orbit of a different major power, with one under the influence of the Xanathar Guild, one tied to Manshoon's Gentarim, and one bound up with the Castellanter family's infernal secrets. This arrangement fits the way each villain option in the adventure is given its own path to the vault, and it suggests that Neverember, or those who handled the eyes after him, wanted no single faction to have an easy road to all three at once. The stone itself feels cut off during these years. It waits. It shelters the image of the hidden Mellerkin vault, the memory of the Brandeth mausoleum, the three odd items that must be presented as keys, and the knowledge that Aurinax watches over the hoard beneath the city of the dead. You can feel now how the threads you have followed through the city all begin to wind around the same small, unassuming object. The stone of Golorr is not just a key to a vault of gold. It is itself a vault of stories that have been stolen from the world. It holds the erased knowledge of the hoard and the Brandeth vault, but also hints of far older things, secrets of wars and pacts, and lost places that were fed to it across ages, until history itself shifted around those absences. From what is described of its hunger for information, it seems likely that it has been used more than once to edit the world, each use leaving a quiet scar that almost no one can name. In Waterdeep, it has become the heart of a quiet storm. Whoever holds the stone and restores its three eyes can ask it to give back the path to the dragons that Neverember hid. Whoever binds themselves to it too deeply risks becoming only the latest mind caught in Golorr's endless appetite, another temporary bearer that the stone will one day urge to pass it along, so it can taste new thoughts and touch new memories. The rules in the adventure make it clear that the stone can learn its bearer's greatest desires and exert a will of its own, which could explain why those who carry it for long often find themselves taking greater risks to keep it close. Right now, in the unfolding of the story, the stone is already on the move. Dagult Neverember's agent Dalakar has it, hidden among his things as he tries to slip through Waterdeep streets and reach the people he trusts to help keep it from the worst of the city's predators. The Xanathar Guild has caught the scent. Manchun's Gentarim are closing in. Other factions have heard whispers that Neverember's most dangerous secret has resurfaced. Somewhere not far from Trollskull Alley, a Nimblewright has been given a necklace of fireballs and simple, brutal instructions. Very soon, fire will bloom in a narrow street. Very soon, the stone of Golorr will be torn from its latest bearer's hands, and the hidden war over Waterdeep's missing dragons will spill into the open in a single, searing flash of light. Section 4. The Four Faces of the Hunt. You rise from the quiet of that fountain with the stone of Golorr still heavy in your thoughts. And as you walk deeper into the night of Waterdeep, you begin to sense that the city is wearing more than one face at once. It is as if four different dreams are being dreamed over the same streets, each one shaped by a different mind, a different hunger. You can almost feel the air shift as the seasons turn. In spring, there is the damp chill of the sewers and the watchful terror of a beholder eye. In the height of summer, bright pennants and carnival music hide a mercenary genius in a plumed hat. In autumn, Incense and organ music drift through a temple where a noble family hides a secret that smells of brimstone. In winter, frost creeps along tower stones, while a clone of an ancient wizard counts pieces on a very quiet board. All 4 of these lives are part of the same story. All 4 are looking toward the same hoard of stolen dragons and the same imprisoned memory inside the stone of Golorr. You begin with the smell of damp stone and old waste, the feeling of spring when the thaw sends more water through the sewers, and the tunnels under Dock Ward echo with distant, dripping sounds. Here the Xanathar Guild feels strongest. Here the city's surface is only a rumor, filtering down as muffled footsteps overhead. You imagine yourself walking along a narrow stone walkway above a sluggish channel, a single hooded lantern in your hand. The air is close and wet. The bricks under your boots are slick. On the walls you see crude, chalked symbols, an eye, a ring of little marks around it that might be stalks, each one a quiet warning that you are in the beholder's realm now. At the center of this realm floats the Xanathar, an eyed tyrant who has taken the idea of a crime lord and reshaped it into something far more alien. The Xanathar does not sit on a throne. It hangs in the air, great central eye forever open, 10 smaller eye stalks curling and drifting, each one capable of firing rays that can charm, disintegrate, or paralyze. Around it, a stolen world revolves. Caged monsters, terrified informants, chests of coin and jewels, carefully catalogued trophies taken from enemies and from random victims alike. The Xanathar's moods are unpredictable. The adventure and related lore describe it as deeply paranoid, easily provoked, and obsessed with gaining power, both to dominate others and to protect itself from imagined plots. The guild that bears its name exists to feed those moods and to channel its destructive power in ways that bring profit. You see how the hidden hoard of dragons looks from the Xanathar's point of view. It is not only wealth, it is security. The beholder mind circles its fears constantly. It dreads betrayal. It dreads heroes. It dreads rivals, even other beholders. To own 500,000 dragons, secretly and utterly, would mean the power to hire endless killers, bribe officials, and fortify lairs with enchantments and monstrous allies. It would mean never needing to fear exile from Waterdeep, because the city itself could be bought again and again. So, when rumors filter down of a stone that holds the memory of a stolen hoard, the Xanathar's interest becomes a kind of obsession. The published material shows the guild actively hunting the stone of Golorr and believing that the Zhentarim have stolen part of its key, which helps explain the intensity of the gang war above. By the time your story crosses its path, one of the stone of Golorr's 3 eyes has already passed through Xanathar hands, claimed from Zhentarim envoys, and locked away among the beholder's collection. To the guild's rank and file, that eye might look like nothing more than a curious relic, a strange little thing with its own aura, catalogued and watched by mages. To the Xanathar, it is a piece of a puzzle. It knows that the stone is somewhere in the city, passing between hands. It knows that there is a connection between the eye and the stone. It does not yet know the full ritual that would reunite them, or the exact cues needed to unlock the memory of the vault. So it sends agents up into the city, each one another feeler in the dark, trying to drag the key down into its lair. Then the air shifts. Lantern light grows warmer. Music swells in the streets near the harbor. Sea breezes carry the scent of exotic spices and fireworks. This is Waterdeep in the height of summer, when the sea ward and the harbor fill with visitors and performances, and wandering wonders from distant lands. Among the many ships at anchor, one little fleet stands out. Brightly painted vessels belonging to a showy carnival known as the Sea Maiden's Fair. On the decks, acrobats, beasts, and performers draw crowds. Costumed guards stand at attention. Merchants and nobles alike come to be dazzled and entertained. In truth, the Sea Maiden's Fair is the mask of Jarlaxle Beaner, the dark elf mercenary captain and mastermind who rules the Bregan Dareth Company. He is everything the Xanathar is not. Where the beholder is monstrous and glaring and paranoid, Jarlaxle is charming, quick-witted, and endlessly theatrical. He wears plumed hats and eye-catching cloaks. He leans on a cane that hides a blade. He smiles easily and means almost none of it. Behind the performances and the carnival barkers, his ships are packed with mercenaries, spies, and weapons. He comes to Waterdeep for opportunity, as he comes to many cities, and the adventure presents him as working to elevate the reputation of Luskan and to secure influence and contracts. When he learns of the rumor that Daggalt Neverember left behind a fortune that no one can quite find, that rumor quickly becomes part of his calculations. To Jarlaxle, the hoard of dragons is a way to purchase legitimacy. 5th edition sources describe him as wanting a place in the Lord's Alliance, a path to formal recognition and power. With the right amount of gold, he could buy ships, contracts, and influence enough to offer real protection to cities along the Sword Coast. Then demand a place at the political table. Waterdeep's hidden hoard is the perfect lever for those ambitions. If he can secure the Stone of Golorr and its 3 eyes before any of the local powers, he can slip into the vault, quietly move the dragons out through his ships, and then decide how much to reveal and how much to use as invisible backing for his plays. This could explain why Jarlaxle's schemes in the adventure often involve balancing charm and deception rather than brute force. You follow him in your thoughts as he walks through a noble gathering in Sea Ward. His boots barely sound on the polished floor. His hat plume sways as he laughs at a joke told by some minor lord. He introduces charming mercenaries as exotic bodyguards or performers. In quiet corners, he speaks with discontented nobles who dream of breaking away from the masked lord's rule. In the background, his agents work the city. Disguised drow and hired locals scour libraries, question smugglers, and listen in places the Xanathar's thugs would never fit. Jarlaxle himself maintains a personal interest in any whispers about the stone. When he learns that one of the eyes has fallen into the hands of a rival, he devises elaborate heists to take it. When he hears that adventurers have stumbled into the mystery, he considers hiring them, manipulating them, or even turning them into unwitting cat's paws. In the season of summer, the hunt for the hoard is a game of masks and favors, and Jarlaxle dances through it as if the whole city were a stage built just for him. When you feel the air cool and the light take on a softer, golden tone, you know that summer has tipped into autumn. The leaves in Waterdeep's gardens turn red and brown. Markets fill with late harvest goods. The wind from the sea grows sharper. In the midst of this gentler decay, a particular noble family shines more brightly than ever. The Castellanters hold lavish feasts. Their estate in Sea Ward stands open to priests, merchants, and the poor alike. They are known as pious worshippers of a goddess of wealth and good fortune, and they pour money into public works and charity. Orphans are fed, shrines are repaired. Bread is given freely at their gates on holy days. From the outside, they look like the very model of generous nobility in a city that often forgets its lower wards. You step through their ornate doors in your mind and feel the soft hush of expensive carpets and guided tour. Servants move with quiet efficiency. Candles burn in golden holders. In private rooms, the air smells of incense and old parchment. Here the truth of the Castellanters' lives unfolds. Victoro and Amalia Castellanter are not simply devout philanthropists. They are desperate parents who made a terrible, infernal bargain. Years before, they turned to Asmodeus in secret to secure power and wealth, entering into a pact that cost them the soul of their eldest son and promises the souls of their twin children on their 9th birthday. The only escape written into their contract is a clause that promises salvation if they can offer up nearly 1 million gold dragons and 99 innocent souls by a set deadline. This is why they have been quietly hoarding and why they are so focused on specific rituals. The adventure explains that they plan to use the 500,000 dragons from Neverember's vault to make up the bulk of that price, and to collect the remaining amount through their own dark sacrifices. In that context, the rumor of Neverember's hoard is not merely tempting. It is a lifeline. The Castellanters know of the Stone of Golorr and are working to get it into their hands. In many tables, interpretations, and in supplementary guides, one of the eyes winds up bound up in their private shrines and rituals, a focus for their research into the vault. To them, the hoard represents a way to gather enough dragons in one stroke to meet the gold part of their pact. They are prepared to take the lives of 99 innocents through a massive ritual, if that is what it takes to save their children. The horror of that choice sits in every quiet conversation between them, every lingering glance at their twins. They still fund orphanages and soup kitchens, but now every act of charity has an edge. Each grateful face they see is a reminder of the cost they are about to impose on others. based on their portrayal. This double life suggests that they cling fiercely to the image of themselves as loving parents, even as they walk toward an atrocity. You can feel yourself standing in one of their secret chambers. A hidden door in the family chapel opens onto a room lined with infernal symbols. A small, eerie object, one of the stone's eyes, sits on a pedestal surrounded by diagrams and candles. Amelia studies it, trying to understand how to use it to guide them to the vault more quickly. Victoro pores over ledgers matching possible victims to projected amounts of gold. They listen for news from the streets, any sign that the Xanathar, the Gentarim, or Jarlaxle are drawing too close prompts new plans. They hire adventurers to retrieve items, all under layers of lies about pious errands and lost relics. They may even invite those adventurers to dinner, smiling warmly across a table laden with delicacies, while quietly testing whether these guests could be allies, pawns, or obstacles in their race against a hellish deadline. In this season, the Stone of Golorr feels less like a simple key and more like a mirror held up to the Castellanter's souls, reflecting every compromise they are willing to make. Finally, the chill of winter settles over Waterdeep. Snow dusts the rooftops. Breath smokes in the air above crowded streets. The harbor wind bites through cloaks and gloves. People walk faster, heads down, hurrying from tavern to home, from guild hall to warm bed. Underneath that simple human haste, a colder patience is at work. In a hidden tower or fortified safe house, a clone of Manchun, one of the founding leaders of the Gentarim, continues his slow game. He is old in experience, if not in flesh, a master of intricate plots that span continents. He does not care for theatrics like Jarlaxle, nor for the Castellanter's blend of piety and terror. He cares for control. Dungeons and Dragons sources describe Manchun's motivation in Dragon Heist very clearly. He wants the cache of dragons to bribe and manipulate the masked lords into making him the new open lord of Waterdeep. With 500,000 dragons, he can buy up debts quietly, purchase property through fronts, bind mercenary companies to his service, and fund magical research that would make the Gentarim's foothold in the city unassailable. He already holds one of the Stone of Golorr's eyes in many interpretations, studied by his mages who test it with spells and record their findings. He knows from captured documents and tortured informants that the stone holds the memory of Neverember's vault, and that reuniting it with all three eyes will unlock that path. For now, his priority is to secure the other eyes and the stone itself, then keep all of them far from the hands of lesser criminals. You see his winter through a frost-rimed window. Inside, the room is warm from a low, steady fire. Shelves are filled with scrolls and wands. On a central table lies a map of Waterdeep covered with small markers. Each marker represents an asset: a corrupted watch sergeant, a gang of hired muscle posing as dock workers, a minor noble in debt, a wizard in the watchful order who accepts quiet payments. Manchun moves these pieces quietly, never committing more than he must, always testing before he trusts. When he hears that Renaer Neverember has been moving freely through the city without heavy protection, he orders his people to seize the young man, convinced that the son must know some part of the hoard's secret. That abduction and the bungled attempts to move him through the city spill the hidden war into the open and draw adventurers straight into the middle of it. In the Manchun season, nothing is loud unless it has to be. Assassinations are clean and quiet. Payments are laundered through layers of fronts. When Manchun's agents clash with the Xanathar Guild, it is often with false flags and misdirection, trying to pit rivals against one another, while the Gentarim slip toward their true goal. He distrusts the Castellanter's infernal taint. He sees Jarlaxle as a dangerous wild card with too many backup plans. He views the Xanathar with a sort of cold disgust, recognizing the beholder's power, but despising its instability. The way his schemes are written, it is easy to imagine him thinking that the hoard belongs in the hands of someone who understands discipline and long-term planning. Someone like himself. You stand now at a crossroads in your mind, with all 4 seasons of Waterdeep layered over the same streets. In one direction, the sewers steam in spring damp, and the Xanathar's eye stalks twitch as fresh reports come in. In another, summer banners snap in the wind above the Sea Maiden's fair, while Jarlaxle laughs with a glass of wine in his hand, already thinking 3 steps ahead. In a third, autumn leaves fall in the Castellanter gardens, and twins play near a fountain, while their parents whisper about devils behind closed doors. In the last, snow falls silently past Manchun's windows, while he moves a single marker on his map and changes the fate of a whole city block. All of them are turning toward the same point, the stone of Golorr, with its 3 scattered eyes. The vault of the Brandath family and the Mellerkin dwarves deep under the city of the dead. The stolen dragons that could heal Waterdeep's finances or plunge it into a new age of corruption. None of these powers will easily yield the path to another. None of them know yet how many smaller lives will be drawn into the struggle. You can feel the tension building like held breath. Somewhere not far from here, a small rented room holds a gnome loyal to Daggled Neverember, and a package that glows faintly with magic. Very soon, fire will bloom in a narrow street. Very soon, your footsteps will carry you from quiet observation into the heart of the chase. As all 4 faces of the hunt turn, finally, toward you. Section 5. The Fire in Trollskull Alley. You feel the city before you see it this time. A soft pressure of morning light against your closed eyelids. The muted rumble of carts starting to move. The faint clink of glass from a nearby tavern, where someone is already setting out cups for the day. You are not on a bustling main street now. You are standing in Trollskull Alley, a quieter little vein in the great body of Waterdeep, tucked away in the North Ward like a secret that only a few people share. Around you rise the familiar fronts of small shops and homes. A bent old woman sweeping her stoop, a tiny apothecary with herbs drying over the doorway. A bent sign creaking gently in the morning breeze that carries the name of your own place, the once ruined and now slowly reviving Trollskull Manor. This alley has become home. Its stones know the sound of your step. Its people have begun to recognize your face. There is a sense, in this quiet moment, that you have finally found a little pocket of peace inside the great thrum of the city. You breathe in the smell of baking bread from a nearby kitchen and wood smoke from the manor's own chimney. The building itself has history. That old tavern with its creaking floors and haunted reputation. But you have been scrubbing and hammering and laughing new life into it for days now. The tap room is no longer only a skeleton of dusty tables. There are fresh benches, repaired shelves, the faint, lingering magic of a spectral barkeep who has gone from resentful to cautiously approving as he watches you mend his former home. Upstairs, rooms stand ready to be rented to travelers. In the alley, a small, scruffy cat that has adopted you threads itself around your ankles. You are just beginning to think of menus and music and what kind of warmth you want this place to offer to strangers. The adventure text itself invites you to treat this chapter as a time for building and settling, which makes the calm you feel here all the more fragile. Then the morning air tears itself open in a pulse of searing heat and sound. You do not see the source at first. You feel it. A hard shove of pressure slamming into your chest, throwing you back against the manor's wall. A sharp flash behind your eyelids that turns the world white. Your ears ring so loudly that for a moment you hear nothing else at all, not even your own cry. When the whiteness fades, there is smoke, black and curling, rising from the center of the alley. Fire licks at fallen wooden carts. Shattered glass lies like glittering frost on the stones. The smell of burning cloth, burning oil, and something uglier fills your lungs. Where there were people a few breaths ago, there are now unmoving forms on the cobbles. You push yourself upright, feeling the roughness of stone under your palms, and stumble forward into that haze. The ringing in your ears gives way to other sounds. Someone screaming, someone sobbing, the crackle of small fires catching on shutters and awnings. You see the faces of people you recognize from the alley, now twisted in shock or pain. The old woman's broom lies in 2 broken pieces beside her. A delivery boy you have seen a dozen times is lying silent in a way that makes your stomach twist. In the official adventure, the explosion from a necklace of fireballs kills several bystanders and injures others, and your own table decides which familiar faces are lost. You kneel beside the nearest fallen figure, hands shaking as you search for breath, for a pulse. Some still cling to life, others do not. The fire came quickly and without warning, a single sudden blast in a place where no one expected war. Among the scattered bodies lies one small form that draws your gaze more sharply than the rest. A gnome, face blackened with soot, clothing still smoldering in places. Around him, the scorch marks on the stone are oddly focused, as if he had stood at the very heart of the blast. In the hand that is not curled against his chest, something glints. A satchel singed but not entirely consumed. There is a sense, even before you touch him, that this is not random, that this gnome did not simply happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Very soon you learn his name. Dalakar. He has been an agent of Dagult Neverember in Waterdeep for some time, and the adventure explains that he was trying to bring the Stone of Golorr to Renaer Neverember at Trollskull Manor, believing Renaer and his new allies were the safest way to get the artifact back to Dagult and away from the gangs that are closing in. You reach out gently, feeling the lingering warmth of the leather, and something inside you tightens. Within minutes, the city's machinery begins to respond. Shouts go out. Neighbors run for water. Buckets pass hand to hand. You help where you can, smothering small flames, dragging debris away from doorways so that trapped people can climb out. The alley is a tangle of smoke and voices when the sound of marching boots approaches. The city watch arrives, green and gold uniforms flashing in the haze. Voices firm as they clear the crowd and begin to take control. Behind them come specialists, inquisitive mages in long coats and flamboyant hats, members of the Watchful Order and the city's investigators. In the official version of the tale, two names come to the fore: Barnabas Blastwind, a wizard who specializes in magical crimes, and Seath Cromley, a veteran watchman who knows how to read a street like a story. They move through the scene with a calm that feels almost cold in the wake of so much sudden hurt, measuring blast patterns, examining scorch marks, and asking those who can still speak what they saw. You stand a little apart, heart still racing, as these officials work. Part of you wants to shout that this is your home, that your people have been hurt. Another part of you understands that if you speak too loudly, too recklessly, you might draw the wrong kind of attention. Trollskull Alley is not just any street now. It is a place tied to you, a place where the hidden war you have been sensing has just broken into open fire. The Watch sees only that a magic explosion has killed and injured residents. Barnabas notes the lingering trace of evocation magic, the signature of a necklace of fireballs, rather than a simple spell cast on the spot. Someone threw a powerful enchanted necklace into the alley and triggered it. Someone chose this exact time and place. The question that begins to form in the Watch's minds and in your own is why. When the initial chaos settles and the wounded are taken to temples or healers, the Watch pins the area with ropes and signals that no one is to cross without permission. They begin to speak with you and your companions more directly. After all, the blast happened almost at your doorstep. They ask for your account, your names, your backgrounds. Your answers matter. Waterdeep is a city of laws, and those who wield dangerous magic are watched carefully. If you have already earned some small measure of respect in earlier dealings, or if you present yourselves as cooperative and steady, the investigators may decide that you are witnesses rather than suspects. Even so, there is tension in every question. Invisible hands of suspicion press against you. Yet, there is another story moving at the same time as the official one, and you are standing right at its center. The clues in the adventure make it clear that this was no random act of terror. Dalakar was being tracked by multiple factions, including Shentarim loyal to Manchun and agents working for House Growlhund, who hoped to take the stone from him. The blast was triggered not by a wizard in the street, but by a Nimblewright, a mechanical servant crafted at the House of Inspired Hands that hurled a bead from a necklace of fireballs from a nearby rooftop before fleeing the scene. In the confusion after the explosion, the construct climbed down, took something small from Dalakar's body, and ran, leaving only char and questions behind. The Watch does not immediately tell you all of this. They may not know it yet, but you begin to piece it together from small clues, from the strange pattern of the damage, from the way one child says she saw a metal man on a rooftop before the fire, from the feel of lingering magic in the air, and the rare nature of a necklace of fireballs. The investigators, for their part, are trying to balance the need for order with an awareness that they are not trained to chase every shadow in Waterdeep's underworld. If you handle things carefully, they may decide not to stop you from making your own inquiries. After all, the city is large, and extra pairs of eyes who can handle themselves are not unwelcome, especially if they might draw danger toward themselves instead of toward ordinary citizens. So the chase begins, not with a shouted command, but with a quiet resolve that settles in your chest as you look at the blackened stones and the still forms of people you had begun to think of as neighbors. The stone of Golorr has brushed your life now in the harshest possible way. The hoard of dragons is no longer a distant rumor. Its shadow has fallen across your doorstep. You decide, in that soft place inside yourself where choices truly live, that you will not simply let this pass. You will follow the trail of smoke and rumor and whisper until you find who did this and why, and what they hoped to win from such cruelty. The first step is to find the metal figure that threw the fire. The mention of a Nimblewright, a rare clockwork servant in the city, turns your thoughts toward the House of Inspired Hands, the temple and workshop of Gond in the Sea Ward. There, artificers and priests create and study wonders of gear and spell and steam. Nimblewrights are among their proudest achievements, elegant constructs with almost human grace. You make your way through the streets, feeling the city's mourning swell around you, until the temple's curious silhouette rises ahead, a jumble of towers and scaffolds crowned by ever-turning devices. Inside, the air tastes of hot metal and incense. Gnomes, humans, and others bustle among half-finished inventions. You speak with the priests, perhaps the kindly High Priest Valletta, and learn that a Nimblewright was indeed given as a gift not long ago to a noble household. It should not have been wandering rooftops on its own. Concern flickers across the priest's face as they realize that one of their creations may have been misused in a deadly attack. In the printed adventure, they provide you with a special device, a Nimblewright detector that spins and points whenever such a construct is nearby. Crafted by another Nimblewright named Nim in the temple, it becomes a sort of dowsing rod for the presence of clockwork life, a way to comb the city's wards for the metal figure that threw the necklace of fireballs. Now, the chase shifts from the cramped alley of the blast to a broader sweep across Waterdeep's map. You walk through the North Ward, listening to the detector hum faintly, but not strongly enough. You move into the Trades Ward, where its spin quickens among the bustle, only to reveal other Nimblewrights in service to honest merchants or temples. Each encounter adds more color to your sense of the city's hidden workings. Caretaker constructs carrying goods, mechanical servants polishing windows, all reminders that magic and invention are stitched into everyday life here, yet none of them bear the specific echo of the one you seek. When finally, the device reacts with sudden intensity, pointing toward a walled estate in the North Ward, your heart lifts and tightens at once. The signals draw you to Growlhund Villa, the home of a noble family whose wealth comes from old investments and quiet, careful alliances. On the surface, they are respectable, if somewhat notorious for their stern demeanor and heavy-handed use of guards. Behind their walls, however, they have made dangerous bargains. Yala Growlhund and her husband Aurond have entered into a partnership with a cell of the Gentarim loyal to Manchun, allowing his agents to use their home as a secure base in exchange for promises of increased influence and protection. As you draw nearer, you realize you are not the only ones converging on this place. Shouts ring out inside the walls. The clash of steel, the sharp bark of orders. Something has gone wrong within the villa. Gentarim agents, noble guards, and the Nimblewright that hurled the fireball have all collided at once in a sudden eruption of violence. You slip through a side entrance or scale a section of the wall, your breath clouding in the air as you drop into the villa's garden. Inside, the halls are a chaos of overturned furniture, fallen bodies, and desperate faces. You are moving now through the living space of a noble family that has tried to use crime as a tool and is discovering how little control they truly had. In one room, you might find Yala herself, sword drawn, giving orders to her loyal house guards while trying to keep her children safe. In another, Gentarim enforcers lie dead or bound, their plans disrupted by allies who turned on them too soon. At the heart of this struggle is the Nimblewright your detector led you to, its metal limbs moving with eerie precision as it tries to carry out the last of its instructions amidst the chaos. And somewhere amid all of this, changing hands in desperate grabs and sudden escapes, is the stone of Golorr itself, which the adventure places in Growlhund hands after they have Dalakar killed and seize what he carried. You learn, piece by stumbling piece, that Dalakar had meant to bring the stone to Renaer at Trollskull Manor, that Gentarim agents had learned of this and tried to intercept him, that the Nimblewright had been sent by the Growlhund's allies to seize the artifact in the alley when things went wrong. After the explosion, the stone did not simply lie there. It was taken from the gnome's dead or dying grasp in the confusion, passed from hand to hand until it reached this villa, now with the Gentarum cell fractured by internal betrayal and external attack. The stone is about to slip again, like a smooth river rock, twisting free of one current and dropping into another. Whether you catch it here or see it vanish once more depends on paths and choices at your own table. But in every telling, the Growlhund incident marks a turning point. Up to now, you have been reacting. You were hit by the blast, drawn into the investigation, following the trail of the Nimblewright. Here, in blood-spattered halls under noble chandeliers, you begin to understand the scale of what you are chasing. House Growlhund's servants and guards are not zealots. They are people who thought they were doing what their lords required. Gentarum agents are not faceless monsters. Some of them are frightened, some arrogant, some grimly resigned. The nobles themselves are terrified of losing status and life alike. Everyone in this villa has brushed against the stone's path and been burned in one way or another. It feels like the artifact and the hoard behind it corrode everything they touch, like a slow poison of greed and fear. When you finally stand still, breath heaving, spell hand trembling from the last clash, you may find yourself holding the stone of Golorr for the first time. It lies in your palm with deceptive weight, smooth and cool, faintly thrumming with a presence that feels like a held breath. If you have recovered any of its eyes by this point, perhaps torn from Gentarum vaults or stolen from a Xanathar cache, depending on your chosen villain, you sense the faint, magnetic pull that would reunite them. Even without all three, the stone is not entirely silent. It presses at the edges of your thoughts, offering half-formed impressions of ancient stone corridors, of dwarven runes, of a dragon's golden eye opening in darkness. You know now that the path to the vault is no longer just a rumor. It is something you can walk if you dare. Yet outside the villa's walls, the city has taken notice. The watch surrounds Growlhund Villa in force when word reaches them of the fighting. They demand explanations, confessions, assurances that the bloodshed has ended. Laeral Silverhand's agents listen closely for any hint that Daggalt Neverember's crimes have spawned a new crisis. Factions you have already brushed against adjust their plans. The Xanathar seethes when it learns that the stone has slipped through another set of hands without landing in its lair. Jarlaxle's eyes glitter as he hears rumors of adventurers in Trollskull Alley who have survived a fireball and a noble house's meltdown. The Castlenters weigh the ticking of their infernal deadline against the fresh disturbance in the city's noble circles. Manchun, hearing of the debacle in the villa tied to his agents, quietly removes some pawns from the board and begins to move others closer to you. You return at last to Trollskull Alley, carrying more than soot on your clothes now. You bring with you the weight of the stone, the taste of noble blood, and the renewed grief of neighbors still mending from the blast. The manor waits, its timbers creaking gently in the evening breeze, as if asking whether it is still meant to be a tavern, a home, or something stranger. You stand in the doorway and feel the way everything has shifted. You are no longer simply adventurers who happen to be in the right place at the wrong time. You are bearers of a memory that was meant to be erased, holding the key to a hoard that can change Waterdeep's future. Somewhere beneath the city of the dead, the dwarven stone of the Mellerkin vault lies quiet, its guardians alert, its gold untouched. Above it, Laeral Silverhand wrestles with budgets that do not yet know every dragon that is waiting below. Criminal empires sharpen their knives. Devout, yet damned nobles count the days on infernal contracts. A drow in a plumed hat considers which mask to wear next. And in your hand, the stone of Golorr stirs, feeling its eyes draw nearer as the final path to the vault begins to take shape in your mind. You breathe in slowly, letting the night sounds of Trollskull Alley settle around you again. The wind through the eaves, the distant clang of a temple bell, the murmured voices of neighbors who still dare to hope that tomorrow will be quieter. You know now that tomorrow will not be quiet. Tomorrow will lead you through mausoleums and into depths where dragon fire can light vault walls of ancient stone. The chase has carried you across rooftops and into noble halls. The heist that waits ahead will take you under the city itself, into the heart of the secret that Dagult Neverember tried to feed to oblivion. You turn from the doorway toward the city of the dead, already feeling in your bones the chill of those silent tombs and the warm, smothered glow of dragon gold hidden far below. Section 6. The Vault Beneath the Graves. You walk toward the city of the dead in a kind of waking dream, the stone of Golorr resting with careful weight in your hand, wrapped in cloth, yet somehow still very present. It is evening, that soft edge between day and true night, when the last colors are draining from the sky and the first stars dare to appear above Waterdeep's lights. The streets thin as you leave the busier North Ward behind. Fewer shops, fewer crowds, more iron fences and high stone walls. Ahead, the cemetery's boundary rises, not as a place of fear, but as a garden of memory where the living and the dead share the same quiet air. You step through the main gate, and the noise of the city drops away, as if someone has gently closed a door. Graveled paths wind between green lawns, shadowed trees, and rows of mausoleums, whose facades bear the names of noble houses and wealthy families. You can hear the wind moving through leaves, the faint hoot of an owl somewhere among the branches, the distant scrape of a groundskeeper's rake. Lanterns glow here and there along the lanes, their light soft and respectful, not the harsh glare of a guard post. Families visit here in the day. Lovers walk these paths when the moon is high. Priests tend shrines and speak comfort into grieving ears. Now, as you move with a small group of companions, the city of the dead feels like a threshold. Above is remembrance. Below is something older and heavier, waiting in stone. The Brandeth Mausoleum is not the grandest in this place. It does not shout with gilded statues or towering arches. It stands modestly among its neighbors, a square stone structure with weathered carvings and a heavy door that has not opened often in recent years. You know now that Dagult Neverember's late wife, Alethea Brandeth, lies within, and that through this house of the dead, he found his way to an older, hidden Melerkin vault far below. The stone in your hand almost stirs as you come into sight of it, as if recognizing a familiar landmark after a long exile. You pause at the base of the steps leading up to the door and feel the cool night air settle on your skin. Somewhere overhead, a griffin rider passes, far enough away that the wing beats are only a faint pulse against the sky. For a moment, you simply stand, letting your breathing slow, listening. You can almost feel the city's weight above you, the North Ward's neat streets, Trollskull Alley with its scorched stones and stubborn life, noble villas, barracks, taverns where stories of the fireball and the Growlhund bloodshed are already bending into rumor. All of it rests atop this quiet field of tombs. Beneath all of that, far below the surface, sleeps the hoard that Neverember stole, guarded by dwarven craft and by something older than the city itself. The stone of Golorr presses against your palm, eager and patient at the same time, knowing that you stand at the true entrance to the path it has been holding inside its strange mind. When you lay your hand on the mausoleum door, the chill of the stone seeps into your fingertips. The metal fittings are tarnished but sturdy. You push, and with a heavy groan, the door swings inward, exhaling a breath of cool, still air scented with dust and faint, old incense. Inside, the chamber is simple. Stone biers, carved names, a central sarcophagus bearing the Brandeth crest. This is a place for quiet remembrance, not grand displays. Your footsteps echo lightly as you cross the floor. The flicker of your lantern or spell light paints the old carvings in moving shadows. Here, the clues Neverember wanted no one else to keep have been half hidden, half erased. Without the stone of Golorr, this room is only what it appears to be. With the stone, something more begins to unfold. When you attuned yourself to it, when you allowed that alien presence to brush against your thoughts, you gave it a path to speak. Now it does so not with clear words in your ears, but with impressions. Your gaze catches on a particular symbol near the edge of the sarcophagus. You feel an odd sense of recognition when your hand brushes a section of floor that sounds just a little different under your boot. The stone is guiding you toward memories it once devoured, and now, under your will, returns. You kneel and run your fingers along the edges of the sarcophagus, feeling for seams. There is resistance at first, as if the structure itself is reluctant to reveal its secret. Then you find a depression, a place where an item can be placed, a gesture completed. The published adventure explains that 3 special keys must be presented at the vault on 3 successive days, each one an object tied in some way to Waterdeep or to Neverember's life. The stone shares those details now, surfacing them from its depths. You see a flash of memory that is not your own, a moment when Dagult himself stood here, placing an object with a steady hand and speaking a phrase half in reverence, half in greed. The exact key items you present here can vary, shaped by the clues you followed in your own journey. But each one echoes those written in the book. A replica of the city, a drinking vessel, something linked to a noble house, or other symbols of Waterdeep's identity. Whatever pieces you have gathered, they are not random. They mirror the life Neverember built for himself in Waterdeep. And by placing them here, you symbolically retrace his steps. As you perform the ritual motions, guided by the stone's quiet pressure and your own hard-won understanding, there is a shift beneath your knees, a soft grinding as ancient stone unlocks. The sarcophagus slides aside, revealing a narrow spiral staircase twisting down into darkness. The air that rises from below is cooler still and dry, carrying the faint tang of metal and something older, like air that has not been disturbed in many years. You stand at the top of that stair and know that once you descend, you will be leaving not only the living city, but even the familiar quiet of its graveyard. Below lies an older world, carved out by hands that never saw Waterdeep's walls, and claimed by a human lord who thought himself clever enough to turn dwarven craft into his personal lockbox. Your steps on the spiral stair are slow and careful. The stone underfoot is rough, but solid. The stairs curve around and around, taking you deeper beneath the cemetery, beneath the ward, beneath the city's teeming life. The sounds of the surface fade until you hear only your own breath and the faint scrape of boots. The walls are carved with patterns that feel more angular, more deliberate than human work. Stout lines, precise runes, the mark of Melerkin dwarves who once held vast halls inside Mount Waterdeep, and under the land that now cradles the city of splendors. Their kingdom fell long before the first open lord took office, yet their stonework endures, repurposed now as the spine of Neverember's grand theft. At the bottom of the stairs, the passage opens into a broad antechamber, high ceilings braced with stout columns, reliefs showing dwarves at work forging, mining, feasting. The artistry is not delicate, but it is strong and enduring, each line cut with pride. Torches or magical sconces flare to life at your approach, reacting either to your presence or to some ancient enchantment that senses living hearts and waking minds. Their light spills across the floor, revealing carefully laid tiles and an intricate symbol in the center, a fusion of dwarven motifs and the Brandath crest. This is the threshold of the vault proper, and it is not unguarded. Before you can pass deeper, you must prove both right and might. The published vault is filled with puzzles and hazards that blend dwarven engineering with Neverember's own taste for symbolic security. Pressure plates trigger hidden mechanisms. Carved doors demand particular keys or phrases. Runes flare warnings if certain conditions are not met. These are not just locks. They are tests of memory and understanding, designed to ensure that whoever reaches the hoard has at least taken the time to know what it represents. This could suggest that Neverember wanted anyone who came this far to confront the scale of what he had taken and the city he took it from. As you move through these challenges, the stone of Golorr sits heavier than ever in your hand or pouch. It supplied some of the answers, returning to you the knowledge it once took from the world. But it does so with its own peculiar satisfaction. It enjoys being needed. It enjoys tasting the touch of these old wards again. You can feel its alien curiosity probing at your thoughts now and then, wondering what you will do when you finally stand before the mountain of gold it has been hiding. The second layer of defense in the vault is more direct. Dwarven guardians, once simple statues, stir as you cross certain thresholds. Stone figures with hammer and shield step down from their niches, eyes glowing with inner light, suits of armor that might have been ceremonial clatter to life, blue fire burning in the gaps between plates. These are animated defenders, crafted long ago and bound to the vault with magic renewed by Neverember's agents when he claimed the space. They do not speak. They do not threaten. They simply move to block your passage, to test your resolve and your skill. You can choose how to meet them. Some adventuring companies face these guardians blade to blade, spell to spell, trusting in their strength and their hard-learned tactics. Others look for sigils that might be disrupted, mechanisms that might be jammed, rituals that might be invoked to still the Watchers without destroying them. In both paths, you are shaping the story of your approach. You are either carving your way through Neverember's defenses or slipping around them with the same subtlety he prized. The clang of metal and the grind of stone echo off the vault's walls, briefly filling this ancient place with the noise of the living once more. Beyond the animated guardians lies the heart of the vault complex, a series of chambers that both celebrate and mock the concept of wealth. Dwarven architecture frames everything, but layered over it are touches that belong more to Neverember's era than to the Mellerkins. Tiled floors inlaid with images of coins and dragons. Carvings of city skylines above tables where chest after chest once sat. There are side rooms where you glimpse the shapes of traps now disarmed, pits that would have swallowed the unwary, blades that would have sprung from hidden slots, glyphs that would have erupted in flame or ice for those who guessed wrong. Every step you take reminds you that this place was meant to keep out anyone except the man who built his secret on its bones. And then, at last, you see the hoard. The main vault chamber opens around you like a cavern inside a dream. The ceiling arches high overhead, vanishing into shadow. The floor before you is heaped with gold dragon coins, stacked in drifts and banks that catch and scatter your light in a warm, hypnotic glow. The adventure states that roughly 500,000 dragons are stored here, stolen from Waterdeep citizens through Neverember's schemes. Chests overflow. Loose coins have tumbled into shining little dunes. Here and there, other treasures rise from the sea of gold. Jeweled statuettes, gilded armor, ornate boxes whose contents might be art or relics or simply more coins. The scale of it almost unmoors your sense of number. Seeing that many together is like staring into a sun made of greed and promise. Yet your eyes do not rest on the gold alone. In the midst of the hoard lies another presence, one of living power rather than minted metal. A great dragon coils lazily atop the coins, gleaming in your light. This is Aurinax, an adult gold dragon whom Neverember bound to the vault under terms that only the two of them fully understood. The adventure makes clear that Aurinax has been tasked with guarding not only the hoard, but also the dragon staff of Augurin, an artifact that controls dragons within the city's wards, and that he is to release them only on Daggolt's command, or that of a rightful heir. Aurinax regards you as you enter, eyes like twin molten suns, ancient and difficult to read. You feel the weight of that gaze settle on you, assessing, measuring. Gold dragons are described as wise, lawful good, deeply concerned with justice and the protection of the innocent. Yet they are not naive. Aurinax has been watching over a crime disguised as security. He knows that this gold was taken from Waterdeep through deception, and that its rightful owners do not rest in this vault. At the same time, he has given his word to guard it until conditions are met. The moment you stand before him, bearing the stone of Golorr and whatever tokens or proofs you have gathered, that long-held vigil begins to tilt. How this meeting unfolds depends on the choices you make and the nature of your journey so far. The adventure explicitly allows you to talk with Aurinax, to use the stone to prove that Neverember has been deposed, and to argue that the hoard should be returned to Waterdeep. You might approach with drawn weapons and spells at the ready, seeing only a final obstacle between you and the hoard. You might lower your hands, bow slightly, and speak with respect, recognizing that a dragon of Aurinax's age and kind is not a simple monster, but a person with his own honor and perspective. If you know the right pass phrases, learned through clues and the stone's guidance, you can present yourself as those whom the dragon has been instructed to heed. Aurinax listens. You can see it in the subtle shifts of those great eyes, in the slow angle of his head. He asks questions, perhaps. He wants to know what you intend to do with such wealth. He wants to hear your story of the fireball in Trollskull Alley, of the families nearly sacrificed on an infernal altar, of the beholder plotting in the sewers, of the clone in the tower. Given his alignment and charge, it is easy to imagine him weighing not just your words, but your tone, your pauses, the way you look at the gold when you speak of it. Gold dragons can sense the hearts of mortals in ways that are hard to hide from. If your intentions align with the restoration of justice, if you have not stained your path with needless cruelty, Aurinax can be convinced to honor the spirit of his duty over the narrow letter. The book notes that he can agree to relinquish the treasure if he accepts that Neverember's authority is broken, and that Laeral Silverhand now speaks for the city. In such a case, the dragon might even assist you by allowing an orderly removal of the gold, or by carrying messages to Laeral, or by helping to ensure that any final assault by outside forces fails here rather than in the streets above. If instead you arrive having aligned yourself with one of the darker powers of Waterdeep. If your story reeks of devils or unrestrained murder, Aurinax may see you as yet another threat to be denied. Then the vault becomes a battlefield, its drifts of gold churning under wings and claws and spells. The coins you sought to claim turn treacherous underfoot. The roar of dragon fire fills the chamber, reflecting off stone and metal alike. That path is possible, but costly, and it leaves scars not just on your body, but on the story of the hoard itself. Assuming you find a way to secure the treasure, whether through diplomacy, trial by combat, or some intricate mix of both, the next question is simple, and yet impossibly heavy. What now? 500,000 dragons cannot simply be thrown into a bag of holding and forgot. Moving that much gold requires planning, discretion, and choices that will echo through Waterdeep for years. One path, perhaps the most straightforward in the eyes of many, leads back to Laurel Silverhand. As Open Lord, she is the one charged with stewarding the city's wealth. The adventure text states that she knows how much Dagult stole, and that she is eager to recover it for public use. When news reaches her that Neverember's hoard has not only been found, but secured, it strikes at the center of the imbalance she has been wrestling with since taking office. The missing funds that haunted her ledgers now have a face, a place, a tangible form. Meeting you, hearing how you traced the stone's path, how you survived the factions snapping at your heels, how you convinced or defeated Aurinax, she recognizes both the danger you have navigated and the trust you placed in her by informing the city rather than fleeing with as much gold as you could carry. In many tables readings of the reward section, Laurel arranges for the hoard to be transported under heavy guard to secure city vaults, and commits to using the bulk of the dragons to restore Waterdeep's finances, fund long-deferred public works, strengthen defenses, and support the wards that suffered most under Neverember's taxes. At the same time, she acknowledges that without you, none of this would have been possible. The adventure specifies that she awards you a significant cut of the treasure as a reward, along with other boons, while still keeping most of it for the city. The precise amount can vary by campaign, but it is always enough to change your lives in a very real way. There are other paths as well. The Gentarim might offer to launder your portion through their networks, turning obvious dragon coins into more discreet assets. Jarlaxle might appear with charming propositions about investing your newfound wealth in bold ventures along the coast. The Castlenters, if still alive and unexposed, might quietly beg for a slice of the hoard to save their children, promising that no one else will ever know. The Xanathar would most likely try to steal rather than negotiate. But even that attempt would be a kind of twisted invitation to engage with the underworld on new terms. Every choice you make here sets ripples moving through Waterdeep's social and political waters. Laurel, for her part, may also offer you something beyond gold. She knows that you have walked paths beneath the city most never see. You have survived confrontations with beholders devils, clones, and dragons. You have proven that you can keep your heads in situations where most would simply run. For such people, she sees a natural place in the future she is trying to build. The text for Dragon Heist explicitly points toward Undermountain and Waterdeep. Dungeon of the Mad Mage as a sequel, and it is easy to imagine Laeral gently suggesting that there are deeper threats under Mount Waterdeep that now need attention. Perhaps she extends offers of patronage, titles, or introductions to the Lord's Alliance and other factions, framing them as tools you can use on whatever road you choose next. You stand again, in your mind, in Trollskull Alley, much as you did before the morning of the fireball. But everything is different now. The manor's timbers are stronger, repaired with better wood and magic paid for by reward coins. The spectral barkeep moves with a touch more contentment, pleased by the sounds of laughter that now fill the tap room. On the walls hang decorations that tell, in subtle ways, of your journey. A small, polished stone that looks ordinary to anyone else, but reminds you of the alien whisper that once lived in your thoughts. A stylized image of a dragon coiled protectively around a city skyline. A simple, framed map of the city of the dead, with one mausoleum outlined in soft ink. Neighbors step through the door with easier smiles now. They have heard that you helped bring justice after the explosion that scarred their street. They do not know the details. Most of them have never heard the phrase Stone of Golorr, and never will. They only know that the alley feels safer, that people like you bought rounds of drinks in memory of those lost, and that sometimes, late at night, strangers with faraway eyes and expensive weapons share hushed conversations in your corners. Trollskull Manor has become a node in Waterdeep's living story, a place where surface life and deep adventure meet over cups of ale and plates of food. Far beneath all of this, the Brandeth Mausoleum still stands, quiet among the graves. The stair you took down into the Mellerkin vault is sealed again, either by dwarven magic, by Laeral's order, or by Aurinax's choice. The hoard it once cradled is gone or much reduced, its power converted back into streets and walls and bread. Yet the stone remembers. Dwarven carvings still wait in the dark. Guardians that were not destroyed stand silent in their niches. Perhaps Aurinax has taken wing and left, or perhaps he has chosen to remain as a protector of the old tunnels, his presence now tied less to a single pile of gold and more to the idea that Waterdeep's hidden spaces deserve watchful eyes. The adventurer leaves his long-term fate open, and this flexibility suggests that he can become either a continuing ally or a distant legend in your tale. The factions you brushed against have not vanished either. The Xanathar Guild licks its wounds and schemes anew, nursing a hatred for those who thwarted its chance at unimaginable wealth. The Gentarim reorganize, some cells purged, others emboldened. The clone of Manchun recalibrating his long game now that a sudden windfall has been denied. Jarlaxle sails on, laughing and plotting, having lost one gamble, but already reaching for the next. The Castle Enter's story ends in very different ways, depending on your mercy and your firmness. Perhaps they are unmasked and brought to justice, their infernal ties severed at a terrible cost. Perhaps they escape, clinging to whispered hope. Perhaps, in some branches of this tale, their children are saved at a price that will haunt you. The adventure supports multiple outcomes here, which means each table's version of Waterdeep carries its own scars from this choice. And somewhere, forgotten in a dusty crate or resting on a shelf in a warded room, the stone of Golorr sits inert, its 3 eyes separated or sealed. Its work in this chapter is done. The memories it held have been given back, at least in part. The city remembers now that it was robbed. Its rulers know exactly how much was taken and how much has been returned. Yet the stone's nature does not truly change. It remains a vessel for stolen knowledge, a mind hungry for secrets. You can almost feel, if you let your thoughts drift to it, that it is not entirely content to be idle. One day, perhaps, someone will pick it up again, brush its surface, and feel that old presence stir. For now, though, in your story, it has been quieted. You let yourself settle into the sound of your own tavern at night. Soft voices, the clink of glasses, the faint crackle of a fire. Outside, Waterdeep stretches in every direction, a vast city of towers, alleys, markets, and shrines. Its lifeblood of coin and stories flowing more freely now that a stolen heart of gold has been returned to its rightful pulse. You have walked its streets from Dock Ward to Sea Ward, from Trollskull Alley to the City of the Dead, from noble villas to dwarven vaults. You have stood in the gaze of a beholder and the shadow of a gold dragon. You have felt a forgotten thought press against your mind and chosen what to do with it. The heist is over for the moment, but the city remains alive and waiting, always ready to birth new whispers and new adventures beneath its ever-turning sky. If you enjoyed sinking into this quiet journey through Waterdeep's secrets, and you want more soft, spoken lore and deep stories to keep you company, remember to like the video, subscribe to loreDND, and let your thoughts drift back here whenever you want to walk these streets again.